Welcome back. Um, we're going to continue our study in Deuteronomy chapter 7. We started this morning with that. I have also resent the Google calendar, a Google invite. I think the issue that we had with the initial invite was I sent it from my other email, tglasgow4@gmail. And then I resent it again at Raw Hebrew Remnant 12 because I didn't realize that each email has its own calendar. So anyway, I sent it from the Raw Hebrew Remnant calendar, and I think most of you would have gotten it this time. Some of you didn't get it before, and I think most of you would have gotten it if you had asked me for it. And I did get a number of you emailing to let me know how many of you were coming, and I appreciate that. Please let me know how many of you are coming. Otherwise, I think most people are going to go with I found out from talking to the Dunes representative that the rooms at Dunes are just like the rooms at Leaky Tiki's. So that's good because the rooms will have a kitchen, a fold-out couch, and a bedroom. That's all the one-bedroom rooms have that. A kitchen, a fold-out couch, and a bedroom. And the kitchen has a full refrigerator, stove, utensils, all of that. So you will have, your own little kitchen if you want to have your own little food in there and stuff. So that will make it easier for all of us, So we'll talk about that at 4:00. But I sent it to the Google Calendar that's connected to Raw Hebrew Remnant 12 at Gmail. So you should have gotten it, and you should be able to look on that invite and see where it says join Google meeting, and then you'll be in. All right. All right. Shalom to all of you again. Welcome back. We are continuing in Deuteronomy chapter 7. So our last study this morning, we talked about, or should I say Deuteronomy talked about mixed marriages. And the Bible has another term for it in the New Testament. It's the same thing, called unequal yoke, being unequally yoked. Now, in the New Testament, it's interesting because when we read it in the New Testament, being unequally yoked with unbelievers, I believe it's 2 Corinthians. In fact, let's take a look at that. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. When it talks about in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. Now let's take a look at that. 2 Corinthians, this is another sample of our brainwashing. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I'm going to begin at verse 14 and go down from verse 14 to verse 18. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Now we studied it from Deuteronomy earlier this morning. But let's take a look at it here, because even though it's the same thing, people may not recognize it as the same thing. So let's take a look in 2 Corinthians chapter 6 from verse 14 to verse 18. Be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion has light with darkness? And what concord hath Messiah with Belial? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement hath the temple of Yah with idols? For ye are the temple of the living Most High. As Yah has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Most High, and they shall be my people. Wherefore, come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith Yahweh, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith El Shaddai. Now, this is very interesting. So when we if you were a Christian and you read this, you are thinking and you're being admonished to not marry a non-Christian. And even further, if you were a Christian in a particular denomination and you read this, you were being admonished not to marry or be with a person in a different denomination. So if you were a Baptist, or if you were Adventist, you should only marry Adventists. If you were a Jehovah's Witness, you should only marry Jehovah's Witness. If you were Mormon, you should only marry Mormon. That's what this has been taken as. But now that we understand, Paul is not talking to Christians. He's dealing with converted Gentiles into the Hebrew faith of righteousness of the Hebrew Messiah, the way of the Messiah. They're being converted into that. So who is he talking about? It's the same people that Deuteronomy was talking about. In other words, he's telling them, don't be connected to people that don't worship the same God that you do. Now, again, this would be a difference than what Christians teach, because most Christians teach that everybody worships the same God, do they not? That everybody worships the same God. Most Christians teach that. In fact, most people of all faiths teach that we all worship the same God. But the Hebrews don't believe that. And the reason why is because you have to understand that the first commandment says, I am Yahweh, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Most people don't think about what that says. The people who were brought out of slavery of Egypt have a God, and that's the only true God. And there were people of nations all around them that worshiped other gods. But their God is telling them, don't have any other from these other nations. And what made the God of the Hebrews different from the other gods, aside from the acts that he performed for them, was that he gave them a covenant. He gave the nation a covenant. So between him and the nation, there's this agreement that is commonly referred to as the 10 Commandments. The God that gave them that said, and we're going to read that today, I've only chosen you. So that if there's some other religion that differs in any way from the covenant, it's a different God. So in Christianity, let's take that for example. The Seventh-day Adventists believe Ellen White's a prophet and that they should obey this fourth commandment of the 10 Commandments. The Mormons don't believe Ellen White's a prophet. They believe Joseph Smith is a prophet and that they should follow the Book of Mormon along with the Bible. The Jehovah's Witnesses believe neither of these people are prophets, but that they have a man, Charles Taze Russell, that helped founded their religion. These are all claiming to be Christians, but they contradict each other. The Catholic Church doesn't believe any of those people are prophets, but that the Pope is ordained to be the continuing successor from Messiah to Peter. And whoever occupies that office is God on earth. So they're all contradicting each other. And yet they claim to have the same God, which in itself creates what we call confusion, and what the Bible uses to say Babel or Babylon. Confusion. These people don't realize they're all worshiping different gods. Because otherwise, if they claim that the God of the Seventh-day Adventists is the same as the God of the Baptists, is the same as the God of the Catholic Church, is the same as the God of the Mormon, and is the same as the God of the Jehovah's Witnesses, he's a confused God. Because these people can all speak the same language for the most part, and yet they all believe opposite things. There's no uniformity. How can they say they worship the same God if he's telling one, Ellen White's a prophet, and the other one, no, she's not, Joseph Smith is. And another one, neither of them are, there's the Watchtower. And another one, no, the law is done away with, we're all Baptists. He's confused. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has one covenant, one chosen people. They come from the Israelite bloodline. Okay? There's no variance. So when he's saying, don't be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. First of all, it's more than just marriage. It's everything. Like, they weren't even to start businesses with unbelievers. They weren't even supposed to be starting a business together with a person that worshiped a different God. It was more than marriage. Marriage is the main one, of course, because we can all relate to that. So did he base it on skin color? No. He based it on obedience to Yah and trusting in the Hebrew Messiah, the faith of righteousness. I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of Yah unto salvation to all that believe, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek, for therein the righteousness of Yah is revealed. That is the gospel. That is what drew them together. The righteousness of the Father Yah, who is the God of the Hebrews. Okay? So it is saying the same thing, but when we are in Christianity, you didn't look at it like that. You're looking at it like your Christianity and like your Christian denomination. And it's not that. It's not that at all. Okay? But you see what happens when you actually read the Bible. When you start at Genesis and read through the Revelation and believe the whole thing, you don't see any contradictions. But when you read parts of it, pieces of it, and you use it, you'll see contradictions. And then when you have other people doing the same thing, you'll see contradictions. Okay, let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 7. That's where we were. That's where we are. Deuteronomy chapter 7. See if I can do something with this light, man. All right. Hopefully. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 7. Now we stopped when we were talking about what we started off today, this one with the unequally yoked. But now we understand a little bit more of what we're dealing with here, the different gods that they worship, and of course, the different culture that went with that. So Deuteronomy chapter 7, let's begin at verse 4 and go down to verse 6. Deuteronomy chapter 7 from verse 4 through 6. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. So now, wait, you and I are not going to go around destroying other people's churches, are we? Why are we not going to do that? Though that was a command here. Why are we not going to go into other people's churches and start burning them and start destroying their images of their white Jesus? Why are we not going to do that? I just want to make this clear. It's pretty obvious, but I want to make it clear. That's right. We're not in the land. We are scattered nation in the land of our enemies. We're not in the land. A lot of things are dependent on us being in the land. That's one of them. They were taking over the land. They were displacing nations. Therefore, that land became theirs by a decree of Father Yah. Therefore, he said, destroy all the other religions, all the other gods. Now, here we go again. When Messiah returns, what will he do in this regard? What is he going to do when he returns? Brothers and sisters, I don't care how beautiful the buildings are, how many crosses they have on them, how many white rocks they have that they're worshiping, or he's going to destroy all. Everything will be overturned and destroyed. All the first false worship systems will be overturned and destroyed. Every one of them. Everything with it. That's right. So that was for the land. Let's make that clear. It's not for us now to be doing that. We're not in the land. Again, this goes along with the feasts. Also, we were talking about the feasts. We're not in the land. Okay. You got to ask your boss for time off to keep a feast the proper way. You don't do that in the land. If the new moon started on a Tuesday and it's the first of the month and you're keeping a holy convocation for the first day of the 7th month, you're not supposed to be working. You have to ask for time off. Even if they grant it or don't grant it, you have to ask for it. That tells you you're not in the land. Does that make sense, brother? Or if it's the 15th day of the 7th month, no matter what it is, and you're keeping 8